Welcome to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on all the social media platforms at Cody_CHGO. Guys, it's been a while. It's been a while. A lot goes into that. A lot goes into why it's been a while, and I'll explain a little bit of that. If you follow me on Twitter, you might know already. But if you don't, I'll get into that. But obviously, we're here to talk about Illinois' 80-77 win over Mizzou, or as I like to call it, the referees. And this one, in my very biased and very openly biased opinion, I couldn't say it without laughing. But there are reasons why Illinois won this game, and the referees sure as hell didn't help. Or sure as hell didn't. They sure as hell didn't help them, in my opinion. So, yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I got a little bit of things coming back from the Wisconsin and Tennessee game. I went to the Wisconsin game at State Farm Center a week ago. And obviously it's been over a week since those two teams played, or though Illinois played those two teams. So won't have a lot, but I just have thoughts about the overall play of this team over the last 2.5 weeks. But yeah, I have a lot of things to say. It's been a while again. So if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you are a consistent viewer, welcome back. So also, as you can see behind me, as everyone knows, I talk about the Cubs for a living. So my background is all Cubs, but I had to put something for this game behind me now with this new setup that I have behind me. And what it says behind me is basically how I feel after this win. Okay. Yeah, Illinois beats Mizzou 80-77 in a game that, honestly, in my opinion, and I don't even really think this is biased. I think legitimate basketball experts or minds, people who follow college basketball, people who follow basketball more than I do, would tell you that Illinois probably should have won this game by double-digit points. They should have won this game by double digits. I'll say one thing that Illinois did that did not help them do that. They didn't help themselves with their 17 turnovers. They absolutely did not help themselves with their 17 turnovers. However, we have a combined 44 fouls in this game. 44 fouls. 44 fouls, man. And like, Mizzou got 37 free throw attempts. 37 free throw attempts. Illinois had 23. Okay. I am not a blame the refs guy. I very rarely blame the refs. But it is very clear the refs perhaps might have gone to the casino queen across the Mississippi River and hit up the old DraftKings sportsbook at Casino Queen and placed the wager on Mizzou plus 3.5 today. Okay. I'm joking half-heartedly, but like that's how this game went. The refs made it all about them today. It was a ref show, okay? And Illinois still won despite it, and despite their 17 turnovers, okay? There are a lot of things Illinois needs to do to improve, no doubt. Illinois won, okay? So, it is what it is, but in my opinion, they easily should have won this game by double digits. They didn't help themselves with their turnovers, and the ref show didn't help either. 37 free throw attempts, and a large portion of those fouls called in the second half just made me want to pull my hair out. Because what are we doing? What are we doing, refs? We're calling fouls off rebounds. We're calling that foul called on Trey White in the final seconds of that game. I don't get it. That caused him to foul out of the game. It's just so agonizing. A lot of people have a lot of problems with college basketball today, whether it's the transfer portal or any of that. But the refs somehow make it hard to want to get into this game. If I were to go to a friend of mine who's not a big college basketball fan and tried and had him sit down and watch this game, there is no way he'd be more interested in watching college basketball after watching that game. It was a great atmosphere, and it was close down the stretch, but it was a free throw battle for a large part of that second half. And there were a ton of fouls called in the first half too. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and harp on the refs as much, but just the way that they called this game in general was atrocious. And it's coming off the Tennessee game where there was like 45 free throws in the first half. I mean, whatever that number was, I completely forgot what it is. I know there was like 40 plus free throws in that first half or whatever against Tennessee. Like, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I mean? So that's my rant about the refs. Somehow, some way, Illinois still won this game. Somehow, some way. And it's probably largely because of Kylan Boswell and Kasparas Jakucionis, who continue to be Kasparas in general continues to impress me so much more than he already does game in and game out. I don't know what else to say about him. He is improving his draft stock every game, right? I know he's got a turnover problem, right? He had 5 turnovers in this game, but you cannot say that this team can survive without Kasparas. You just can't. If he, like, knock on all the wood, right? Knock on all the wood. If something were to happen to him, I don't know how this team would respond. So I'm just happy that we have him. I'm happy that we get to experience him. I think what I'm really trying to say here is that appreciate what you're getting to watch from Kasparas Jakucionis, because I was talking to a few friends at my day job the other day, and they cover the Bulls. And I was telling them, I'm like, KJ, like, Cooper Flagg's going to go 1, but like, where's KJ going? And one of the guys told me, he's like, oh yeah, he could go top 5. And like, I'm just saying, if he keeps playing the way he is, that would not surprise me at this point. He's been that impressive to me. Big game again today. 21 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 3 of 7 from 3, 5 of 11 from the field. His 5 turnovers, for sure, not great. The turnovers are probably the biggest thing that you can kind of look at and criticize him for sure. Sometimes he can be, how do I say this? Sometimes he can be a little lackadaisical in traffic, and that just ain't going to get it done in the Big Ten. But he has had some huge tests this season. You know, I felt like he didn't have a great game against Alabama, had a great game against Arkansas. Didn't have he's had highs and lows, but I thought in the month of December, he's played pretty well. Maybe the Tennessee game, not so much. No one played well in the Tennessee game. There's nothing you can point at in the Tennessee game and be like, wow. And they still only lost by 1 or 2 points in that game. And you can certainly make the argument that they should have won the game. I think that's why it was so heartbreaking, right? So I just had to get that out because I've just been so impressed watching Kasparas play basketball, man. But I really feel like Kylan Boswell is kind of like the MVP of this game. 16 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. He had some huge drives to the basket in the second half, the final 10 minutes, kind of when it felt like Illinois and Mizzou were teetering between Mizzou maybe taking the lead, and he just had some big moments. 11 of 12 from the free throw line. There's one really good thing that I'm not used to saying about this team. Illinois made their free throws today. The one free throw they missed was the very last one that Kylan Boswell took at the end of the game that allowed Mizzou to get that shot for the tie, right? Obviously, he didn't make it. And if he would have made it and they would have gone to overtime, I don't think Illinois would have won, considering the guys that have fouled out. Trey White had fouled out. Morez Johnson had fouled out. And when Morez Johnson fouled out, that's when I got really worried. And I don't know. It's just I feel like Kylan took some big shots at the end of the game. Some big drives, big free throws hit. They just grinded it out. I think this is a game that they can certainly learn from. You can't turn it over 17 times when you're going up against a Power 4 opponent. You just can't. And they're lucky that Mizzou only got 12 points off those turnovers. But that I'll give credit to their defense for that, you know? So Kasparas and Kylan, I thought, were the big parts of today's game. There's other dudes we can talk about as well. So I just wanted to get all that out. We got a few people in the chat. Philip and Lyndon, how you guys doing? It's been a while. I hope you're all well. Lyndon says, this team isn't mentally strong, in my opinion. And I mean, dude, I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily disagree right now. I think they're still going through this like growing pains. I think growing pains is such a good word to use or a phrase to use with this team. They played a really tough non-conference schedule. They get Chicago State before they start Big Ten play, right? But they've played a really tough non-conference schedule on top of already playing Northwestern and Wisconsin. I think they've made strides. I think we've learned a lot about the team compared to the first time we watched them against Eastern Illinois back at the beginning of November, for sure. But yeah, at the end of games, it's been a sweat, man. It's been a sweat. Today, I think I'd give them a little bit of a pass in certain standpoints of being mentally strong or not, because I feel like the refs did not make it any easier with them with all their foul calls on whether it was a rebound or just like ticky-tack stuff. You couldn't touch anyone out there today. So I think in the past, during this month stretch, sure, you can certainly say that, and I still feel it as well. They were up by 10 with 6 minutes to go, and they gave it away. 4 of those points, though, in that 11-0 run that Mizzou went on, were because Mizzou got a rebound, and it wasn't even like a confirmed rebound. Like, it was like players going after the ball, and they call a foul. It just felt really ticky-tacky. You couldn't be aggressive with anything. That's how I feel. That's just how I feel about how this game went. You can certainly disagree with me, but yeah, I'm with you, Lyndon. They need to be better mentally in clutch time at the end of games. Up by 10 points and you give it away in less than 2 minutes is alarming. Absolutely. And during that process, even though I blame the refs for anywhere from 4 to 6 points on them getting it back. They still, there was a missed shot for Illinois, and Mizzou went down and got a wide open 3. And it was like they weren't mentally into the game. It's like they were in transition. They just allowed a wide open 3 because no one got back. Like, you just can't do that. They had a 10-point lead with 6 minutes to go, and they almost gave it away. Almost. Anyway. What's up, Ryan? I see Ryan in the chat. This non-con will do them wonders for what isn't a great Big Ten this year. The top is kind of bunched up, but it feels like there's a cliff talent-wise. I agree. I mean, I think Rutgers has one of the best players in college basketball on their team, and they lost to Princeton yesterday. And you could watch that Rutgers team play, and without Dylan Harper on the floor, it's tough to watch. And I think Illinois certainly has the depth on top of the talent. And I think that is what outweighs them from other teams. Purdue, sure, is always going to be there. Indiana, we'll see, but they've played such a soft non-conference schedule that I don't know what to expect from them in the Big Ten. Oregon is a team that scares me, though. Oregon is a team that scares me. But we'll see. I'm excited for the Big Ten season. I'm hoping that this tough non-con for sure helps this team thrive in January like most Brad Underwood teams do. Lyndon says, my issues is closing games out. The Tennessee game, we could have been up 1 with 5.7 seconds left in the game, but we missed a pivotal free throw as we did this afternoon. You're right. And I of course, the pivotal free throw allowed them to, maybe tie it to go to overtime, and thankfully they didn't, right? I still just think, though, like, you made 22 of 23 free throws. It is what it is. You take that, especially from Illinois, more often than not. I just think that there were so many plays that were caused by this referee crew that just, like, it kept Mizzou in this game. I hate being this guy. I don't want to be this guy, and I'm normally not. And if you listen all the time, I don't think you would think that I'm like this. But 37 free throws to 20 to 23. Give me a break, man. But in general, yes, Kylan's got to make the free throw. He's got to make that free throw, right? What's up, Sonny? Sonny is also in the chat. He says, this is the type of game you're grateful you came out with a W because you were clearly the better team. Yes. That's the big thing. And I think that's why some people are frustrated, though, right, Sonny? Like, Illinois, talent-wise, is better than Mizzou. It's just as clear. Is light is as clear as you could see. Mizzou actually plays to the pace that Illinois wants to play at. And the only way that they were ever going to win that game is if they really capitalized on those turnovers, which they didn't. So I'll give credit to Illinois' defense on that, but you just can't turn the ball over 17 times. If they are going to consistently be that team, they aren't going to go far. So thankfully, I haven't complained a lot about turnovers this year, but this is a game kind of gives me like that same feeling that when they lost to Northwestern. I'm just happy they came out with it. They easily should have beat Northwestern. They were up by 5 with 2 minutes to go against Northwestern, and they gave it away, right? You beat Wisconsin. That the score of Wisconsin should have been more as well, right? I guess maybe I should say this is more like the game against Wisconsin where you should have won by more. You should have against Wisconsin the way that game went out. But, I'll take this W because you're coming off the loss to Tennessee, and we all just sat here for the last, week kind of waiting for this game. I wish there would have been another game in between just so we can move on from the Tennessee loss. So I'll say the team after a week off really came out, and there were parts about this game that were good and give me some hope moving forward. But yeah, there's certainly reasons to be concerned about still. So what else? We're getting some comments about Ben Hummerkaus. I haven't talked a lot about Ben Hummerkaus because I haven't been able to do a show the last couple weeks. So we can talk about Ben Hummerkaus. Obviously the first half, I felt like he was non-existent again. That said, and I know he finishes with 3 points. He only shot the ball 4 times, 1 rebound, and whatever. So the stat sheet says nothing, right? I will say this, and this is just me kind of grasping for straws, kind of like trying to have a little hope that maybe he's going to turn the corner finally. I felt like in the second half, there were 3 or 4 different possessions for Mizzou on offense where Ben Hummerkaus was at the rim and played solid defense. And he also hit a 3 in that second half. So yes, he can't I do think that he gets too much time. He's been getting too much time. That's it. Only 21 minutes today. But I felt like in the second half, I felt like his presence was felt a little bit more at least. But yeah, he's got to be better. He's just got to be better than what he's been. He's been pretty useless. But 21 minutes, Will Riley played 17. Merez had 19. Would have played more if he didn't foul out. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn had 14. So, I mean, for his position, we're looking at Merez Johnson or Will Riley, I would guess, right? I think Merez would have closed the game out if he didn't foul out. And again, with the way that this referee crew was calling the game, I'm surprised more guys for Illinois didn't foul out the way that they were calling the game. So I think Brad has kind of come to the realization that, yeah, I can't hang out with Hummerkaus as much as I have been in past games. If he plays 20 minutes a game, he gives you the ability to stretch the floor. But yeah, his defense is a liability. I think Merez would have been out there if the way that game was going, if he didn't foul out. So you still have to play him. I don't think it's a point to where he's unplayable. I mean, maybe you could play Kerry Booth more, I guess. I don't really know what to feel about Kerry Booth, Let me know what y'all think. I get it. I've read a lot of discourse related to Hummerkaus, and I felt like he started the season real hot from 3, and then he hasn't been making threes of late, and Northwestern took advantage of him defensively, and he didn't do much against Wisconsin, and he didn't do much against Tennessee. Of course, again, like no one did anything against Tennessee, so it's been a bad stretch for Ben, and I don't know how much longer you can continue to start him. I guess I don't know if he'd be better in a bench role or if it's better with starting the game with him out there. I don't know, but I also feel like Sonny has said on his show Locked on Illini, as he's here in the chat, like Will Riley kind of has like that. He kind of has that. You get the feeling he's he's like a kid going out there getting to play with like his big brother, and he's like overexcited sometimes, and like he gets a little chaotic. And I just feel like it's youth, and like he just has to like continue to get comfortable, or I don't even know what the word I'm trying to think of that would fit it. But it's like he's kind of chaotic out there at times. I don't think he was necessarily chaotic today. I felt like he got some good shots. Riley, he was only one of 8 and 1 of 6 from 3. He had 2 or 3 different 3-point shots where he was wide open. He just missed them. Only finished with 3 points today. So still waiting for Will to just kind of get it together, figure it out, and really show why he's like one of the most highly touted, draft prospects going into next year's draft if he decides to enter, right? And we've seen it. He's had great games in the past, right? So I know that it's in him, but yeah, he's going through a really tough stretch right now. So then you look at Merez. Merez was awesome today. For the minutes he was out there, his defensive presence was shown. You could see it. And when he was out there, you could tell that Illinois felt really comfortable defensively out there. He is a rim protector. He gets all the rebounds. He had finished with 8 rebounds today. 5 of them were on the offensive boards. There was one drive, I want to say it was Kylan. And it kind of, or is either Kylan or Jakucionis today had a drive, and Merez was right there for the offensive board, and he put it back, right? So I just think, is he out there? Are they going to run offense through him? No, but his defensive presence and rebounding is so important for this team, I think, going into Big Ten play. Absolutely. So I will continue to say that I want to see more Merez Johnson, and if that means he's in that spot and he's going to play the 4 and the 4 or the 5 with Tommy out there, then fine, because I think maybe Izovich could be a better stretch 4 with his 3-point shooting. I'm here for it. Merez also sometimes gets into foul trouble too. So I personally don't know the answers right now. All I know is that you can't just sit Hummerkaus and not play him at all. There's no way that you can do that right now. I think if he starts hitting some of those open shots, you will see the value. And I think as a help defender, I feel like it's there, but as a one-on-one defensive player, no, it's been tough to watch for sure. So I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think. I know I'm grasping for straws a little bit on Hummerkaus in that second half. There wasn't a lot, but I do feel like there were a couple defensive possessions where he, at least as a help defender, created some bullets avoided on it for Illinois defensively. Hit a big 3, whatever. Hopefully this game against Chicago State can help him get his confidence going, because I think confidence is such a big thing. It's such a big thing. So I think that's the thing. My girlfriend is texting me about a list for groceries. She has no idea that I'm doing this right now. She's going to have to wait. All right. What else do we got? Phillips says, if Merez wasn't in foul trouble, I don't think Ben would have played much down the stretch. All right. So I'm glad that I think we all kind of agree with that there. Ryan says, it's not even the scoring so much. He just hurts you so much on defense. Yes, he had a few good possessions, but he needs to step it up on offense if you want to leave him out there. Yeah. And we got to find that happy medium, because it's been so high or been so low. There's no I'm just kind of like, I don't know what to expect. We've seen him get hot from shooting the ball, and we've seen him get completely taken advantage of defensively, like at Northwestern. He's got to find a way to be a little bit better of an on-ball defender, and he's got to find a way to hit shots, right? It's just a fact of the matter. And I also think, and I didn't say this, I also think, and no one's going to want to hear this, but the fact that he's older and he has experience, I do think that means something, because this team just doesn't have a lot of it. It just doesn't have a lot of it. So I think that's another reason why you have to continue to play him, and you just got to get him in the right spots to be able to hit some shots, this and that. So should we perhaps consider looking at Brad did he evaluate Humrickhouse wrong. Again, it's been what, four bad games? I don't know about that yet. Ask me at the end of January about that. In general, I think Bragg gets a lot of credit for recruiting. And if this goes on to be, if this continues into January and beyond, then yeah, I guess we'll look at this one as a bad one. Sure. Let's see. Lyndon says, I miss TSJ attacking the rim. Yeah. I wish that TSJ was on this team. If you had TSJ with KJ out there, oh my God. That would be so fun to watch. And also you'd have a lot more experience on your team too. Squared circle squared says, can we talk about Isevic at the end? What about Isevic at the end? Am I blanking on what happened? I can look at the recap here. Play by play. I'm a little confused. Remind me, because I'm all over the place with this game right now. Let's see what else we got here. Ryan says, I've heard Booth is a little more of a project, which is probably why Brad shies away from him. I think when the schedule eases up, we see more experimenting with Carey. Yeah, I mean, nothing against Chicago State, but you got an opportunity to maybe give them some minutes against them in their last game before the end of the, before you go into Big Ten play. So I am curious about him. The fact that they play Jake Davis more than him also, like, it makes me scratch my head a little bit. But you're right, Ryan. I do tend to think that Carey is kind of like a project right now. And maybe I think I've kind of used Merez, try and compare him to like Dane Danger last year. But obviously, Merez is a bigger presence defensively and rebounding wise. But at the beginning of last season, Dane was barely playing any minutes. And then we all know what happened towards the end. Obviously, Dane more experienced, right? I believe, then obviously more than Merez. I was just curious about how Merez was going to fit in with this team at the time when I said this. And we're seeing his presence and we're seeing what his role is on this team. Now we got to figure out Carey Booth's role. And maybe Carey Booth is more of like the Dane thing last year, where Dane barely played any minutes. And then towards the end of the season, he was playing anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes a game. So I don't know. Maybe you can't compare the two. You probably can't, but I'm trying to take things from previous seasons to try and put them together and make them easy to explain. I don't know. Okay. Squared circled square says Isevic was arguing and talking trash. Rewatch the very end. Mizzou looks scary. I do like. I remember seeing that like there was a like, guys had to be separated, this or that. And I do find it funny that Tommy is the one who's doing the trash talking here, considering it's not like he's been part of this rivalry for a long time. Of course, no one on this team really has. DGL played in it last year, I guess, right? Kylan's from Champaign, so he knows how much this rivalry means to Illinois fans and to their program. Sure. But listen, I'll say this about the Braggin Rights game. I'll say this. All right. Illinois should win this game every year. They should win this game every year, in my opinion. I understand that there was a stretch here in the last 10 years where Illinois had lost consecutive Braggin Rights games to Mizzou. Now they've won 2 straight, right? Illinois is just a better basketball program than Mizzou. Plain and simple. That's just the fact of the matter. And I say this because no one has more wins than Illinois in the Big Ten the last 5 years. And I will probably be saying 6 by the end of the season. What has Mizzou done? What has Mizzou done? A couple years ago, okay, went to the tournament, lost to Princeton. Okay, cool. Like, did they even win a conference game last year? Like, this is, I don't care that they beat Kansas a few weeks ago, or whatever. Illinois is a far and away better program than Mizzou, and always has been. That's why they lead the all-time series. I'm pretty sure they do, at least. Don't let the facts get in the way, as I always like to say on CHGO Cubs. I, in general, though, in terms of the rivalry, like, I loved on the broadcast that the broadcaster said, like, this is one of the greater rivalries in all of college basketball. And, I guess so. For conversation, for the sake of conversation, I get a lot of Big Ten fans who are like, Illinois doesn't have a rival. Like, no one cares about Illinois, this and that, which is so funny to me, by the way. I feel like in the last 5 years, Illinois and Purdue's like rivalry, or just conference rivalry in general, has increased because Illinois and Purdue have been the two best teams in this conference the last 5 years. When they play each other, whether it's at State Farm Center or at Mackey Arena, it's intense and it's great for college basketball, right? I feel the same way about Iowa. I actually think the rivalry with Iowa is much bigger. And maybe now this in-state rivalry with Northwestern will be something for years to come. Obviously, the last handful of years, it has been like a much bigger thing. But Illinois historically has dominated that rivalry over over time, right? Maybe it'll be more competitive, but all I know my life is that Northwestern is just, they'll never be anywhere close to Illinois in terms of a basketball program or anything. But in recent years, yes, they've played great games against Illinois. So we'll see how that develops over the next 5 to 10 years, right? To me, Illinois' rival in the Big Ten, more so than anyone else, is Iowa. And I would put Indiana up there too. And then if you talk about recent years, I would put Purdue third, right? Mizzou, they play this game every year, right? They fight over certain players, right? And recruiting, I don't know. Like it's a very, very fun non-conference rivalry, I guess. They play in December every year. They go play the game in St. Louis. It's the most exciting thing that happens in St. Louis the entire year. Right? So I don't mind a little trash talking. Let's go. Also, there was a Mizzou fan kicked out of this game today. I wish there was more told about that. I would love to know what that was for, right? I would love to know what that idiot did. So that's kind of my thoughts on like this whole rivalry stuff with teams in the Big Ten, or just Illinois and Mizzou. So Lyndon asks, Cody, what's your confidence level with this team winning the Big Ten? Right now, my confidence level is probably somewhere around 50-50 shot. I give them a 50-50 shot that they should do it. I do think they have depth. I do think that they have the talent. The thing is like they need to take steps internally as a team to be able to close out games better, like you were talking earlier, Lyndon. Like, I think that's a big thing, and we're going to see in January how this team figures that out, right? So I'd say 50-50 right now. I went into the season thinking they'd at least finish top 5 in the Big Ten. I don't believe in Indiana. I don't believe in Michigan. I don't believe in Wisconsin. I'll continue to tread lightly with Purdue, even though they certainly are nowhere near as good as last year, which is no surprise. There's no Zach Edey, but they're still Purdue, and they still have Matt Painter. They still have Braden Smith, right? They are still a really good program, really good team. I will not sleep on them, right? And like I said earlier, Oregon is a team that I got my eye on, and I think UCLA is also a really solid team as well. And I am intrigued. I'm excited to see the Sky Clark return. I think they play at State Farm in this season, right? So I think the Big Ten in general, like most teams, are pretty close together. And if Illinois can play at its ceiling, perhaps, yes, they could win this conference. But I don't know. I don't know how long this growing pains process is going to take. So it's a hard answer to give, Lyndon. It's more of like, yeah, they certainly could. And in general, I think they'll finish top 5 in the conference because I think there's just too much talent, and Underwood is a good enough coach to do it. And we'll be talking about perhaps at least a second weekend appearance in March come that time. I'm just conditioned to feel like I should have that expectation now. That is what Brad has done to give me that expectation. He's put me in a point where it's like, we expect this. We expect this, Jay, welcome to the chat. He says refs were absolute garbage. So were the SEC announcers. Tough watch today. I don't disagree, Jay. I don't disagree. In terms of the refs, that's for sure. The announcers, whatever. It is what it is. The fact that they put a Big Ten team on ESPN today it was nice to be able to get that. Philip says Illinois, the next conference game is at Oregon, catching them at a better time. Last season, Oregon is in trouble. Yeah, we'll see where we're at come that time. I think Oregon, they've impressed me a little bit, especially during around Thanksgiving. They had some nice wins. So we'll talk more about Oregon down the road, but they do kind of scare me a little bit. Jay says, why does Illinois this year get crap game times? Didn't like the Thanksgiving game time. Today's game when the NFL is going on, and a ton of 8 p.m. games this season. That's a great question. I will say on Thanksgiving when they played Arkansas, it was nice to just watch the Bears game and then watch Illinois. And them playing at 3 p.m. after the Bears broke my heart, it salvaged the day a little bit, right? I'll say this. I hate when they play early. I'd rather them play at 8 p.m. than at noon or 11. I hate the 11 a.m. starts. I hate the noon starts. I think best case scenario is anywhere between that 2 and 4 o'clock. The 2 and 4 o'clock. That's a good time for me, right? But I don't get to make those decisions. Ryan says they were highly rated on Thanksgiving. Sunday day games are whack though. Yeah. Especially during football, Okay. What else? What else do I want to talk about? I forgot to mention this guy. All right. In terms of individual players. I mentioned him, but I didn't talk about his game. Trey White. Trey White has arrived, and he didn't have an incredible game today, but I think he did exactly what you need him to do for this Illinois team. 13 points, 8 rebounds. He made all 3 free throws, 5 of 7 from the field. I felt like he made an impact. And for a lot of the non-conference season, he was just kind of nowhere to be found. So I think his emergence is huge for this team going into the Big Ten season. Huge. And again, him fouling out, that was the worst call probably of that game. That foul call was probably the worst call of that game. I will remember that call for probably the next 2 months whenever I think about how much I hate the goddamn refs. I promise you. It was one of the worst foul calls I've ever seen. But I was at the Wisconsin game in Champaign. He had a huge game, and I feel like he has started to figure out his role with this team, and I think it's a huge development. You got Kylan, you got KJ, you got Tommy, and if you get Trey White giving you anywhere from 10 to 15 points per game, being impacting defensively, getting on the boards, especially the offensive boards. He only had 1 offensive board today, but again, 8 rebounds total. I think that's a huge development for this team going into Big Ten season. So I like what I'm seeing out. I like what I'm seeing out of 4 of the 5 starters, right? I think we all feel really good about the 4 of the 5 starters. Got to get Rickhouse going or fixed or something, right? Because this bench, while they have depth, I don't know, outside of maybe if Will Riley figures it out in the Big Ten season, I don't know if there's anyone else I'd rather want in that starting lineup on a regular basis. And again, I say Merez just because he gets in foul trouble a lot. I don't include Merez in that because he gets in foul trouble a lot. So they need to get Ben going, but I love the emergence of Trey White these last handful of games. If there's 1 or 2, maybe 3 real positives from this game as far as Illinois individually or just going forward, it's Trey White. I love seeing what he has done these last handful of games. Jay says, at least Illinois should have Riley back next year. His name has disappeared off mock drafts. He needs to keep hitting the gym with Fletch and eat more buffets. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe, it is just the non-conference season. We'll see how he develops moving forward here. But yeah, no, you can tell he's raw. You can tell he's raw. And Illinois is going to need him to hit those threes that he got today. He had multiple wide open threes, and he just didn't make them. He's got to hit those shots. But he also, I think he eventually will kind of come into his own as the season goes along. He's just too talented to be a non-factor on this team moving forward. All right. Okay, so we're about 40 minutes in. Kind of went on my little tangent about the refs, the game itself, the position Illinois is in now, basically entering the Big Ten season. 2 straight wins over Mizzou. 2 straight wins over Mizzou. And as it says behind me, fuck them. I took a lot of slander a couple years ago. Before this podcast started, I made a TikTok talking about how Illinois should never lose to Mizzou because Mizzou is a mediocre program. And I took a lot of backlash from Mizzou fans on the internet. And today I continue to feel justified like I did last year. Mizzou wasn't very good last year at all. I don't even think they won 2 conference games last year. This year, they're solid. Tony Perkins, the transfer from Iowa, I can't stand that guy, right? But he's good. Tamar Bates, solid player, right? They got Mark Williams that transfer from Duke. They're a much better team this year. I think that this at the bare minimum, this game is good for Illinois' resume because I think Mizzou will be a competitive team in the SEC this year. I don't know how competitive, but they'll be a decent team. They did beat Kansas, so I think it's a good win for their tournament resume, and they needed it considering coming off the loss to Tennessee that we all know that Illinois probably should have won. So I think we all still have concerns about closing out games. I think we also have concerns about Ben Hamrickhouse, and we also have concerns about what? Just the overall, I think we're all still questioning the ceiling a little bit, or maybe even the floor. Maybe we're questioning the floor more than we are the ceiling. I don't know. Maybe we're setting the ceiling too high. Maybe our floor should be a little bit lower, which still doesn't even mean that they won't, be a competitive team in the Big Ten or whatever. But sometimes they go through certain stretches in games where you just feel like they're being so careless with the basketball. And it worries me on the road in the Big Ten. Specifically, on the road in the Big Ten, that scares me. So these are things that they need to clean up. It comes with experience. It comes with playing together and all that. So I think like what Sonny said in the chat earlier, you just take the win and celebrate it because it certainly could have gone another way. It makes up for that. In many ways, you can make the argument that it makes up for the loss at Tennessee, or not at Tennessee, but against Tennessee. I did say at the beginning of the year, I would take a 2-2 record against the SEC, and I thought that Mizzou and Arkansas were those wins. Maybe 3-1 if you could beat Tennessee, and they easily could have beat Tennessee. Easily. So it makes it frustrating, but at the same time, it's not like you got blown out by Tennessee. You were right there, and you had every chance to win. And we'll see if that loss bears fruit moving forward in terms of growth, right? So I think there's a lot to be frustrated about this game, but at the end of the day, they won. And sometimes you just gotta. It's just nice to win one, as some people say, as I like to say. It's just nice to win one, right? So that's how I'm taking this game. That's how I'm taking this game. It's just nice to win one. Should have won by double digits. The referees should be punted straight into the Mississippi River before you head back to Champaign. That's how I feel, right? But anyway, that's really all I have on this. Before I get out of here, I just want to mention I am sorry that I wasn't able to do some post game, even after the day after the Wisconsin game or the Tennessee game. Just crazy time in my life. My girlfriend just moved into my apartment, did a lot of life things this last couple weeks. Plus, as you guys know, we had layoffs at CHGO this week, and so I was planning to do just a podcast in the middle of the week to maybe preview this game and kind of recap what I've missed, but I just was unable to because it's just been a crazy week and a half or two, and so I apologize. I'm always going to try and be here after games. But I just wanted to throw that out there before I get out of here. I appreciate y'all's support. If you like me for Cubs or you like me for both, whatever it is, I'm assuming you're watching because of Illinois reasons, and that's fine. So I just want to throw that out there before I get out of here. But yeah, I appreciate y'all's support, and we'll continue to grow this YouTube channel as much as I can. Hopefully the Big Ten season will be nice for us and a lot of fun, because Illinois has been the only fun thing in the last 5 years in terms of successful teams that I like. So we'll continue to grind this out, and with the holidays starting this week, should slow down for me. So I should be able to do the Chicago State game, post game. I'm trying to remember when that game actually is. I'll bring it up real quick. They play next Sunday. So we got a whole week off. Chicago State is 0-14. Chicago State is 0-14. They're going to Champaign to play Illinois next Sunday. It's a 1 p.m. tip-off. Hopefully it's a game where you can get guys like Carey Booth some minutes. Maybe it helps get Humrick some confidence, hit a couple threes, and all of that. Should be a nice little, easy game. Win by, 25, and just go into the new year with a 2-game winning streak. That's what I'm sitting on here. So yeah, we'll come back probably after Christmas, maybe do a little preview, maybe recap some stuff that I haven't talked about. Not that y'all need to hear it, but I really thought the Brad Underwood interview with Field of 68 was awesome. And if you haven't listened to it, I would go listen to it, because there's so much from that game or from that interview that really gave me a lot of just confidence and optimism about the future of this program and what's going on in it. And I just think he's very transparent, and that's nice to have. I don't have that a lot with a lot of my sports teams, right? So I love what Brad is. I continue to support Brad, and I always will. But if you haven't listened to it, I'd give it a YouTube search on Field of 68's page. It's literally basically right after the Northwestern loss. So it's kind of old if you haven't listened to it, but I highly recommend listening to it if you haven't. There was a little bit of a tidbit that was thrown out there earlier this week, I believe, about Kasparas shooting jumpers at 2 a.m. or whatever in their practice facility, giving me, should I call him the Croatian Mamba or something? I don't know what I should call him, but that's giving me Kobe Bryant vibes. You love to see that from your alpha on this team. So there's a lot of things that I've missed over the last couple weeks, and it makes me mad because Illinois played some really good teams of late. So anyway, looking forward to continue to see him grow. But all right, I am done talking to my MacBook Air by myself. It's been about 50 minutes, so I appreciate y'all's support. Hit that like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. If you have been here and you know an Illini fan that might give a shit about what I have to say, send them my way. Yeah. You can send the link to this to subscribe on Spotify. It's in the link in the description. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. We'll be back after Christmas. Enjoy the rest of the holidays, and I appreciate y'all support again. All right. Till then, ILL. Illinois beats Mizzou for second straight time, 80-77. Fuck them. All right. Bye.